Oh, well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes, and this is the July 30th edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, where we are going to be talking about professional wrestling for the very last time in July 2020. We're done talking wrestling in July, folks. It's a big step forward here. We're a leap. One would say a jump forward. This is wild, man. Absolutely wild. But you know what is wild? And I'm recording this live on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes right now. And we have a truckload of people. Well, that sounds kind of weird because then it kind of sounds like I'm into human trafficking. That's bad. No, we have a plethora, a grouping of people have joined me this evening, absolutely live, absolutely safe from any transmitted diseases, any types of strains, I should say, of flu that might be out there. Social distancing abounds here at the Warren Hayes Show. And as such, we have people like Tim Traver who are here. How you doing, Tim? Our boy Throwback is here as well. How you doing, Throwback? Good to see you. Kelly Tonjes is here. Robert Larry, hello to both of you. Good to see you as well. Who else have we got? Mark Forbes is here as well. How you doing, Mark Forbes? DGMC as well. Tony Wiegand is here. Carlos is in the chat. How you doing? Robert Sterling as well. Mort the Black Dog. Anthony Gaston as well. Mr. Fretz is here as well. Oh my good, Nikki here as well. Bluegrass Jeff. My God. Did I say Robert Sterling or did I skip over Robert Sterling? Because I just saw Robert Sterling and I don't remember if I said Robert Sterling. Robert Sterling, if anything, if I missed you the first time, I'll just say your name over a couple of more times just for forgiveness' sake. Robert Sterling, Robert Sterling, Robert Sterling, Robert Sterling, hello. But hey, live here, youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Got all these great people here hanging out because we record here every Thursday right in front of these fine folks, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you ever have a chance, that's fantastic to come here on YouTube and hang out. Like if you're here right now and in the chat, you know what a cool thing would be? Give the video a thumbs up because videos like that kind of stuff. But more importantly, YouTube likes that kind of stuff. It really does help out the show a great deal. And even if you're watching on your own accord, on demand, whenever that is, that's also something. And I really appreciate it. And if you're watching again on YouTube, and maybe this is the first time you pop in, or maybe this is a few times, hey, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And if it's not the first time that you pop in here and you're not a subscriber to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, do consider it. I like to think that I earn y'all subscriptions. Our timelines, our notifications, they're filled with all sorts of junk. I don't want to pile up on it. I hope that if you're a subscriber, you subscribe because you really do enjoy what I do, and that I was able to earn that subscription. So if you feel like I have, and you feel like I'm that I give you the stuff that you need right here, man. Do consider giving a subscription. That'd be fantastic. But hey, and you can also listen to this on podcast applications. And I don't thank the podcast listeners enough. People who listen to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, Google Podcast, Stitcher, all the great podcast apps that are out there. Thank you as well. My listenership on audio only has been going up, and there's a reason why I put it out there in audio only as well, is because, not everyone can make it live on Thursday nights. Not everyone, YouTube isn't necessarily everyone's bag, and, I think it's really cool that, that you could listen to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show wherever, download it on your device, and, while you're working out, while you're jogging, more like working out, because the gyms are all still closed, right? It just goes to show you how much I know about working out, or doing chores or whatever at work. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone who does download the audio and listens on podcast. Show some love there as well if you do feel like it. A review on Apple, some likes, some subscriptions, some follows, whatever you can do. All that stuff helps out a great deal. Per usual, After we're done here tonight, head on over to patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes, subscribe to the Patreon, the $5 tier, and you can jump into the post stream that I affectionately call Warren is Off the Clock. And tonight, we are going to be talking about that list of top 10 matches in WWE so far that WWE put out on their Twitter earlier this week. And my God, we have to have a serious talk about it. We just have to have a good, honest, serious talk about it because holy shit, it is a whole crock of nonsense. So come on over. It's very cool. A lot of interaction with the chat. I love the patrons. It's a good way to show support for the Mr. Warren Hayes show at the same time. Patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. And and you can also show support here live on YouTube, especially if you're the type of person who likes to come to the live shows. You can become a member of the Mr. Warren Hayes show, which will, if you go to the main channel page, there's a join button that's right there. If you hit the join button, you can get access to extra emojis for the live chat. So that's fantastic. It shows a little support. Or you can drop a super chat and I will read your question or comment right here live in the chat. Such as from our boy Throwback earlier just before the show started. He said, have a good show, but thank you for being on Tuesday. I'm glad he brought it up. I want you guys to subscribe to Throwback's channel if you haven't already. I think it's, well, not that I think, it's youtube.com/throwback27. And I was the surprise guest on Thursday for Throwback's show. It was a lot of fun. We talked about wrestling, of course. It was a good time. Throwback's a cool dude. Go on over there, give him a subscription, listen to the show that we did on Thursday. That is very, very cool. And Anakin left us a super chat as well. By the way, hello, Anakin. Welcome to the chat. And he says, DGMC, your match with Warren has to wait. I have a meeting with Warren in the fight pit for his comments on Throwback show. Just hashtag justice for DGMC. I don't even remember what I said on podcasts, on Throwback's podcast. So to me, whatever I said there about anyone is all moot point. Like there's nothing more to talk about, honestly. There you go. Programming notes for the next week, next Thursday. I am literally going to be traveling at the time where I record the Mr. Warren Hayes show next week. So I will not be doing the Mr. Warren Hayes show live. However, I will pre-record an episode of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. We'll be doing the regular rigmarole, but it unfortunately won't be live. I will debut it as a premiere. So if you guys want to come hang out in the chat and have a good time with all the cool chat pals here, that will happen. It'll be available as a premiere next Thursday. Won't be live. Will be back, however, the week after with a live show. So it's just for 1 week. Please forgive me. It's just for 1 week. I'm not leaving you high and dry though. You guys are you guys are worth it. You're worth the effort. I want to put it in for y'all. Y'all deserve it. Want to say hello to Brian Payne, who just jumped into the chat as well. We're already having a good time. We got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Holy commonolies. I don't know what a commonolies is, but I can tell you one thing. It's time for the weekly wrestling inspection. Woo! Thank you to Ben for the theme of the weekly wrestling inspection. Ben is on vacation this week. See, lucky dog. He's on the side of he's on a beach. He's on a beach. Can you believe that? He's got a beard and he's on a beach. Anyway, let's just go. Go, Warren. Stop it. Let's start off the week with some warm soda. Warm soda for what? For New Japan Sengoku Lord. That happened this Saturday. It was the first show that New Japan had, or at least big show that New Japan had following Dominion. Excuse me. Had some sort of little bit of a brain fart. And this was a B show. Just like WWE has B level pay-per-views. Sengoku Lord is one of those. It's not one of their big shows of the year. Dominion is their second biggest show of the year. But this one, didn't exactly have all the hype, the big match feels about it, but it was really uneven for me. Look, I'm not going to go through the entire card because there were a lot of 6-man and tag team matches that are typical in New Japan, but ultimately aren't necessarily worth of mention. We did get the match that was building up throughout the New Japan Cup and then into Dominion and Dominion Weekend, actually. Okada versus the Tokyo Pimp, Yujiro Takahashi. I mean, if anyone was expecting this match to be the consecration of the Tokyo Pimp being elevated into the upper tier of New Japan stars, oh boy, did they get a knock on the noggin, because this wasn't very good. Takahashi dragged our boy Okada down, and you have to be someone special to not be able to get Okada to drag down Kazuchika Okada to your level. At the same time, there's an argument to be made that Okada didn't seem motivated. He didn't seem motivated really all that much in the New Japan Cup nor Dominion Weekend, and I didn't think he was all that motivated here either. Maybe he really did feel that this was under him, and I kind of get it at the same time because it kind of was. But hey, it is what it is. Hopefully we will never speak of this feud again. Shingo Takagi successfully defended the never open weight title against El Desperado. This was a fun match. Shingo's never title defenses have been the glue of New Japan since the beginning of the year, even before COVID hit, but especially since he came back. His matches have been extraordinary. They've been really good. And this was this was a fun match. Despy was on it. Best match of the card without question. Then we had Evil having his first title defense or champ defense since winning the titles versus Hiromu Takahashi, a match I was really looking for. Look, as much as I say that Shingo's the glue, so is Takahashi. His character, his emotion, he's been holding the whole thing together on his own end, but I don't think his in-ring work has been there all that much. He's had some really good matches, but his New Japan Cup match against Okada sort of left me a little cold, and this one here too. But I think that this one here falls into that trope that a lot of New Japan detractors have, is to say that every main event has to be 30 minutes, and this was another 30-minute match that didn't have to be 30 minutes. We could have had, or let me start over. In this 30-minute, get this right, in this 30-minute match, there was a really solid 15-minute match. There was no reason for this to go 30 minutes. And I don't think Hiromu is ready yet to, or at least we're not ready to see him work heavyweight main event style. It didn't work. But the angles that came out of it, though, we had Naito come back to confront Evil at the end, so he's been set up for a title shot at Summer Struggle, which is going to be in August and is going to be held in a baseball stadium. It's going to be outdoors. Fucking love that. And we're also going to get Hiromu versus Taiji Ishimori, which I am here for. That's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. So a very, very average show, folks, if we're being honest with each other. I'm going to keep the warm soda going, and we're going to keep talking about New Japan because they also announced that they are going to be starting something new. Hello, Ryan Smith. Welcome to the chat. They're going to be doing something new moving forward. They're going to have an annual King of Pro Wrestling Championship. The provisional King of Pro Wrestling in New Japan is a pay-per-view. It's an event. But now they're going forward, and they're actually creating they're creating something here. The provisional King of Pro Wrestling 2020 will be decided across 2 nights, August 20 on Karukan Hall and August 29 at Summer Struggle in Jingu Stadium, which was the baseball stadium I was talking to you about. 8 wrestlers will wrestle in 4 singles matches on August 26th. Each wrestler will bring their own desired match rules to the first round. And this apparently is an idea by Kazuchika Okada. He's pushing this forward. So Okada said that there are all kinds of rules, 2 out of 3 falls, ladder matches, steel cage matches. It could be anything. And fans will get to vote on which wrestlers' rules the singles matches will be contested under. Okay. The winners of those singles matches will then advance to a 4-way match on August 29 under regular 4-way match rules, and the winner of that match will be crowned King of Pro Wrestling 2020. And the King of Pro Wrestling title, it's actually going to be a cup. It's not going to be a belt. There's going to be a trophy, and it can be defended until the end of the year, with stipulations to be voted on by fans as we move forward. So this is going to be an integral part of the thing moving forward. The winner of the last King of Pro Wrestling title match of the year will be presented with the trophy. And the process begins anew in 2021. So it's going to be, you defend it. And if you make it to the end of the year, you win the trophy. And then we get another tournament to set this up again for the rest of the year. Interesting concept. The reason why I'm giving it not hot trash, but warm soda. You guys know I love tournament wrestling. I really do. I think tournament wrestling is one of the best parts, especially in New Japan. But I can't help but wonder how. I can't help but wonder if this is a little too gimmicky, especially for New Japan, which is very, very. They don't do many stip matches and triple threat. You never see triple. I think honestly, the last triple threat match we saw in New Japan was for the U.S. title. I think it was Kenny Omega, Juice Robinson, and Cody, I think, or was it Ishii, Kenny and Cody? I can't quite remember, but it's been like 2 years now. And I like the idea of New Japan being more sports oriented and less gimmicky. You know, the votes by the fans on one hand is cool, but on the other hand, I also get like bad throwbacks to no disrespect there, Pat, but bad throwbacks to our boy to Taboo Tuesday and stuff like that. I mean, and then it can be a ladder match, a triple threat. I don't know. I'll reserve judgment. I'll reserve judgment when it happens. New Japan has very rarely let me down. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Kristen Ashley's in the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, the first lady's here. How you doing, Kristen? Mr. Fretz left us a super chat, says, King of Pro Wrestling, Jimmy King return confirmed. Crown him. Are we talking about basketball player Jimmy King? Who are we talking about? Is that who we're talking about? Because that's about all I know. I know he's a basketball player, and that's just it. Ready to Rumble? I don't remember much from Ready to Rumble. It's from the movie. Okay. Let's keep moving then. Let's get some cool beans going. Rare that I give warm soda to New Japan, but hey, you know. Cool beans, we got to talk about, we got to underscore this for some cool beans. The Big E singles push. How long have we been waiting for that? It's such good stuff. I like how it was presented, where Kofi's like, man, I'm going to be out and injured for a while. This is your time. And Big E's like, man, it's about the team. It's about us. We've always looked out for each other. And Kofi's like, dude, this is all about you now. It's your time to shine. I dig it. I dig this so hard. And you know what else that I really dig hard? That they were able to go with a Big E singles push without breaking up the New Day. Which is something that umpteen numbers of internet pundits have always said Big E needs to split from the New Day to get the singles. They never split up the New Day. Splitting up the New Day is a disaster. And I'm glad that someone in WWE seems to understand that. If only the guy who runs the merch tables, where he's like, hey, you know what? New Day merchandise sells really, really well. We can't split these dudes up. But other than that, you can tell these guys are a real team. They're a unit. They're friends. I'm really excited for it. What are they going to do? Are they going to do an IC run? Are they going to do a Universal title run? I'll tell you this much. The Universal title right now is poison. And AJ Styles versus Big E in a program, in a series of matches, that's fresh. That's new. And that's something I really want to see. Because your boy Big E can work real well with smaller guys. And AJ will make him look like $1,000 million. Which is a very convoluted way to say $1 billion. But you know me, I get paid by the word. This was fantastic. I love it. I love the idea of it. You know what else I loved? And then we're going to keep the Cool Beans train going too. Choo choo. We're going to tie out Orton challenging Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. It makes sense. It makes sense now that you take our boy Randy out of the legend killing thing. Maybe we can all regress the memory of maybe we can all regress the memory away from the Big Show's feud. Maybe we can all forget about that moving forward here, and bring him into a situation that Drew really needs. Drew had another good match. Drew, as WWE champion, has been putting in the work. He's had another good match on Raw. He's been so goddamn consistently good. Oh, yeah. Match after match, pay-per-views, Raws. His defense against Orton, though, he needs it. He needs it because Orton is a legitimate threat. Drew has not faced a legitimate threat since becoming WWE champion. He's had great matches, but Seth, as his first program, no one bought that Seth was going to take the title off of him after his first defense. That just his first program wasn't going to happen. Bobby Lashley wasn't built up enough, not a legitimate threat. Dolph, are you kidding me? Here, when it comes to Randy Orton, they've built him up savagely. He's a threat, and he's a legend. This has a level of unpredictability where you could go, you know what? WWE could put the title on Orton. They really could. And it'd make sense. I like the unpredictability of it, and this is the kind of win that Drew's reign needs. A huge megastar who's poised as a credible threat to him that he can overcome or lose to and get into a program with. Look, there's a lot of possibilities here, but this is something I'm really looking forward to. This is something that I'm really looking forward to. So there you go. Anakin JMT left us a super chat. He says, now there's no reason to not let Xavier Woods win King of the Ring in the future. This is one of the reasons why I continue watching WWE. I'm crossing my fingers that Xavier Woods is going to get well, get out of his injury, and be back in time for King of the Ring so that he can participate this year and win, because it'll be the complete opposite of King of the Ring Corbin. King of the Ring Xavier Woods is going to be entertaining and wonderful for 365 days, folks. You know it's going to be fun. He's going to make that gimmick work. It's like it's made for him. Dean Pasker III! Welcome to the chat. We're getting in some hot trash area now. What the hell? What the fuck are they doing with Aleister Black? Come on now. I'm an Aleister Black fan. You guys know this. I'm a big Aleister guy. He had a good call up with Ricochet coming up as a tag team, and they were dominant. They were really good, and he's been protected since. He's had a virtual undefeated streak, and he was protected and stayed credible despite the stupid come knock on my door shit, which was infinitely stupid, but he's been booked strong, he looks strong, but WWE never pulled the trigger on him. They never made him feel like he was a big deal. Sure, he had the win, the winning streak. They never leaned into that, which they could have, and that would have helped create a myth around Aleister Black, the same type of myth that was around him in NXT when we were all discovering him, and he was so fascinating and awesome, where he could black mass a dude out of nowhere and just knock him down and kill him forever, because usually that's it. You kill someone and it's forever. But here, last week, not this Monday, 2 weeks ago, he loses to Seth Rollins, then gets his arm beat up, then comes back out this week, and he ends up being rescued by Dominic Mysterio. Aleister Black gets laid out. They do the eye thing again. Jesus, I'm sick of the eye thing at this point. I really thought they were going to let it go, but no, they're doubling down on it. Now he's been stripped of everything that made him special. They never leaned into him as a strong guy. He was a proxy fighter. He was feuding with... He was used as a proxy for Rey Mysterio to fight Seth Rollins. With Dale Gass, for fuck's sake! Aleister Black and Dale Gass! He was on the same level as Dale Gass! And he's had fantastic matches, regardless of who he's been with. And now the rumors that he's being written off TV. Why? Why would you write him off television, where you literally have someone who could be a star? Vince, for the past 10 days, has been saying, I want to build new stars. You have one, Vince. He was ready-made. Is it because it's Paul Heyman who built him up? Gave him the undefeated streak, and you don't like that, and you kind of want to erase it? You had a star right there, and you've had him for weeks, months. I'm so sick of this. Why do we need to cool him down? Why do we need to cool him down? Hey, we want to talk about cooling down. Let's talk about another cooling down. We're going to keep the hot trash going. Last 2 weeks ago, Mustafa Ali comes back. Everyone's excited. Everyone's cheering. We're going, yes, Ali's back. That's great news. And then this week he comes back on TV, loses clean, because we got to cool him down. We can't keep him too hot. Hey, Vince, I know you want to make stars. So, probably this is part of your plan. You gotta make sure that the guys and gals don't get too hot. You gotta cool them down the week after they come back. Building stars in wrestling is usually very, very simple. You have them win decisive matches. You make them win strong. You make them look good in the ring. You have them win matches because no one wants to back a loser. No one will support a loser. You want to get behind, as a member of the audience, as someone who wants to cheer people on, you want to cheer people that will make you glad when they win. I don't know why they're deciding to cool down some of the hot guys that they have, that have organic followings, real followings. I don't get it. I just really don't get it. Let's go into some cool beans now. I'm already sweating. Sasha and Bayley, the 2-woman power trip. I love it. Sasha officially wins the title, the Raw title. I love the idea of it. I was hoping they'd do it. They ended up doing it. Giving the title officially to Sasha was more than just getting like the shots of Sasha and Bayley with all the belts. This was great. And look, this is the good thing about the Four Horsewomen. There will always be nothing but good things to say. But here's another thing. You lose, you being WWE, two of your top women being Becky and Charlotte. You pivot onto your two other top women, Sasha and Bayley, and look what they do. They just rise to the occasion. It's as if Becky and Charlotte were never there. You know what I mean. I mean, I'm not glad. I want them to come back. That's not the point. But everything is just flowing and working so well. And that's good. That's smart. If WWE takes this opportunity to elevate other women, bring other women into the spotlight, like it apparently is the case with Shayna Baszler, maybe giving Naomi the chance she deserves. Yes, that she deserves. Then maybe this will all be for the best if we continue to get a strong women's division with new strong stars in it. Sasha and Bayley, man, though, they've been fantastic. They have been carrying the shows, not just the women's division. Read my lips. Sasha and Bayley have been carrying Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown on their backs. They are the reason you should be watching. There really isn't much else that's like, I want to tune in to see X do Y. You want to see Bayley and Sasha do Bayley and Sasha things, and it has been such a ride. However, that finish, the finish that they gave us this Monday for Sasha winning the belt, why is it so hard to give us a good, strong finish for a women's match? We didn't get one at Extreme Rules for this. We get one once in a while, but there's been like this series of really wonky finishes for the women. Recently, I rewatched John Cena versus AJ Styles, Royal Rumble 2017. And I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the ending, and I'm like, this is how you make someone look strong in defeat. AJ Styles didn't look weak in defeat. He looked strong. He lost clean as a whistle. But he looked strong nonetheless. Didn't lose anything. You don't have to have these asinine endings. Now, I tweeted out this. I want to get to my point, okay? You understand. I don't like the ending, but I want to get to my point. I tweeted this out on Monday, and I said, shit finish. That was the essence of the tweet. I used the word shit, and I'm using it again today. Pardon me, YouTube. Please don't demonetize me. But I used the word shit, and I got a lot of responses of people tweeting me back saying, oh, well, I didn't really mind. It shows that Asuka had a kind heart. Because, they had the Titantron, right? It showed it up on the Titantron that Bayley was beating Kairi Sane up. And Asuka left the match to go, a match that she was about to win, to go defend, help her friend. People that shows that Asuka has a kind heart. It protects her. She continues to look strong. She cares more about her friend than the title, and that's something I can get behind. I don't want to mock people who think that. They're entitled to think that. Your enjoyment of wrestling can be absolutely the opposite of mine, and that's fine. I'm not going to say that anyone who has that opinion is wrong, but I am going to say that it is completely the antithesis of what I enjoy in professional wrestling, because I think this kind of shit insults your intelligence as a viewer. This is what I think. And because let's go with the basics first and foremost. Why was the Titantron did it suddenly appear to show this? Why was that put on screen? That makes no sense. There's no background play-by-play that happens during every other match. What happened here? There's no reason for it to have happened, and that straight off the bat is insulting your intelligence because someone had to make that call, and it just makes the whole thing contrived. It just makes it ultimately contrived because it doesn't make sense. This would have been a good situation had they decided to stick with the hacker gimmick. Then, the static and the hacker stuff appears, and then the hacker is showing this happen. Then you're like, oh, hacker's at it again. But this was nothing. This was absolutely nothing. And so that's one thing. Then WWE is going to turn around and is going to tell you, you know what we have, we don't have wrestlers, we have superstars. Our superstars do what they do because they're great at everything they do, and they don't do it for money. They do it because they're superstars, because they want to entertain you, and they want to win the championships, because the championships, whether it's the U title, the WWE title, the women's titles, they are the most prestigious belts in all of wrestling, right? That's what WWE tells you. There's no bigger honor than winning a championship. So if your wrestler doesn't care about the title, you are not only going against your own message, WWE, you're not even drinking the Kool-Aid that you're serving us, but then why do I care about your titles if your wrestlers don't care about them enough to finish a match? Why is winning a title considered to be a heel thing? Why is it a heel thing? I don't think it's a heel thing. I don't understand baby faces in WWE. A baby face wants to win a title, but he doesn't necessarily want to hang on to it because honor goes above the title. Then what's the point of the title? Why can't you create baby faces that will do what I watch, the reason that I watch for, and that is to win matches and win big matches? Asuka has been doing wrestling things for a long time. I don't see why she would just drop everything and run away and abandon a match. That's not a professional move. That's a shit thing to do, because we as fans then can be considered cheated. And honestly, and this is what I was thinking about, here's a hot take for you. Let's say outside, because here's a hot take. I believe that WWE doesn't really care about its titles. Right now, there's one title. There's one singles title, maybe two, that you feel are really important. WWE title, you can make an argument for the SmackDown title. But the Universal title, nobody gives a shit about. And honestly, I really do believe that the only time that the Universal title mattered is when Brock Lesnar had it. And then Seth Rollins takes it away from him, then it sort of matters, but then it doesn't matter anymore. Again, if you want to buy into Asuka being kind of hard and watching out for a friend, okay, I get it, cool. But I watch wrestling for wrestling matches and wrestling outcomes. There was no reason that Sasha could not have won this match with a pinfall, with a belt shot and a pin. I don't give a shit, but that kind of thing is insulting to my intelligence and insulting as a viewer. And we know WWE doesn't have a tendency to reward us as viewers, right? They're constantly, this is what happened last week. Oh, remember a month ago. Oh, look at what happened 10 minutes ago. They don't reward us for being longtime viewers, and it's goddamn, when they do shit like this, makes it hard to feel rewarded as someone who tunes in every week. Anakin JMT left us a super chat, says, I don't mind how Sasha won. She won by countout, so if there's another match, I believe Asuka would be likely to win, similar to when Becky couldn't beat Asuka until she won. I had a doubt she'd win. Like I said, cool. I'm okay if you want. I'm okay if I'm if I'm in the minority on this. I sincerely am. And I can understand where you're like, oh, she won by countout, but it's not the countout win that bothers me. It's the fact it's how she won the countout. It's her abandoning a match. It's her going to the back. It's the shit appearing on screen for no reason, and it's WWE telling us, our female wrestlers don't really care that much about the titles in their division, so. But that's just me. And speaking about Kairi Sane, because we were talking about her a little bit earlier, so we're not really talking about it, and it's not really a good segue, turns out. warm soda to her departure. First of all, many happy trails for Kairi Sane. She was a revelation to a lot of us in North America who didn't get to watch her in Stardom. When she participated in the Mae Young Classic, she was always a delight in NXT. Super talented. Won the NXT championship as well. Women's championship, I should mean. And if this closes a chapter on her wrestling career and she goes back to Japan to be with her husband, I'm super cool with that. I loved how she tweeted out, said thank you WWE fans for supporting me, and so I'm glad she didn't call them the WWE universe. She said like everyone who supported me. I loved it. I think unfortunately this is going to be a situation. Ultimately, not a situation, but ultimately this is a position where we're going to add Kairi to these wrestlers, super talented, fan-friendly wrestlers that WWE on main roster didn't have a clue what to do with. And that's a crying shame, because there was a lot more to get out of Kairi Sane than taking a beating from Nia Jax, because Nia is so big. Kairi Sane is, to a certain extent, she was too good for main roster. Whatever she decides to do, good on her. I've talked about it with my boy JPQ from the former No Particular Angle podcast, because he watches a lot of Stardom. John says, she'd be one of the oldest members of the roster. Not the oldest, but I think there's one wrestler who's like a year older than her, but she'd be really, really up there if she wanted to go back to Stardom kind of thing. There have been rumors that she's been in contact with Rossi, who's the general manager of Stardom. He's the boss, so she might go back there. But like John also pointed out, she does have a history of injuries. The Stardom style is a lot faster, a lot more hard-hitting and violent than what she was doing in North America. So maybe she could go back, maybe like for a last hurrah kind of thing. We'll see. There's also talk that she might act as some kind of ambassador for WWE. She left on good terms, so we don't know if it's truly the end, but we'll definitely see moving forward. Let's talk about more cool beans as we discuss one man's ruling of ass. WARHORSES match on AEW Dynamite last night was pretty fun. I liked it. I was surprised. Good on him, because he had a really, really tough act to follow, right? From Eddie Kingston from last week. Kingston was a revelation for a lot of people and just tugged at the heartstrings and had a really good match with Cody. So I was, hoping that Warhorse was able to get a good showing, and by God, he did. He even got pyro. They gave him pyro. Gals, guys, it's amazing. And what stood out to me in this story here, kudos to Cody Rhodes here. The story was that Warhorse was prepared for the match. He had studied Cody's moveset, and he was ready for it, because he was countering in and out of Cody's offense, the figure fours, the sunset flips. He had something for everything. I love that spot where Cody locks in the figure four. I think it's the first time he does it in the match, and Warhorse is just like, what? Flips right onto his stomach, because as you know, when you flip over the figure four, then it hurts the guy who's applying it, right? And he just instantly did it. He wasn't like hanging on his back for like 30 seconds before, can I flip over? No, he's just like, whomp. And it's like, this guy, okay, cool. Cody had a hell of a time trying to get some offense in. I liked it. He lost, but it was good. It was, I dug it. I thought it was really, really good. Ladies and gentlemen, Ilias Arts, the greatest artist of the 21st century, is currently gracing us with his presence in the chat right now. Folks, press I for Ilias in the chat. Give him a warm welcome. He's done such great arts for me in the past. My God. So that being said, Warhorses match was really cool. Next, back to some warm soda. Because right after the match, Matt Cardona, the former Zack Ryder, debuted. He ran in to save Cody, who was being attacked by Silver and Reynolds of the Dark Order. Okay. Why is this warm soda? Why are you so uneven on this, Warren? Jesus, you're such a sourpuss, WarrenHayes. Here's the thing. On one hand, I'm thrilled that the guy, one of the guys who got fired during a pandemic, is getting work. I'm thrilled for all the guys and gals who lost their jobs because WWE is a shit place to work at, lost their jobs during a pandemic and are able to bounce back and find some work. I could not be more thrilled with them. This is a man that WWE depushed after being told year after year, you've got to get yourself over. You have to reach for the brass ring. And just as Zack Ryder was getting over, WWE said, yeah, no, we don't want you to get over, though. So he was part of the whole debunking of the merit system in WWE, which doesn't exist. There is no merit system. You don't get over on your own accord. You get over if Vince wants you over. So I'm thrilled for him to the gills, and I'm really excited to see if AEW will be a good grounds for him to show what WWE dropped the ball on. Ooh, yeah. Now we'll see. However, here's where it gets a little warmer, not as cool, but a little hotter. But anyway, they hired another dude. They hired another guy. The women's division is suffering right now. It's been suffering for months. There were some glimpses of hope. Injuries are happening. There's a lot of shit stuff, but they're not pivoting to try and improve their women's division. Instead, they hire another male wrestler to the roster. Cameron, the former Cameron in WWE, debuted last night. She's Nyla Rose's partner in the women's tag team cup thing. But Ariane, she's called now, right? But if anyone thinks that Cameron, the woman who tried to pin someone while that person was on their stomach, if they think she is going to be the revolution they need, color me skeptical. I'm willing to give her a chance. Of course, we haven't seen her wrestle in years. Maybe she's been training. Maybe she's become the next coming of Tiger Mask 2. I don't know. But at this point, this does not bode well. And to me, bringing in Zack Ryder, bringing up the main roster of men up to a total of 62 signed men to 18 in the women's side. That is a 3-to-1 ratio, folks. All these decisions that AEW is making is proving to me that they do not consider their women's division a priority. They consider it to be on the B squad, maybe even the C squad, and that is really, really bullshit. AEW, I'm honestly, at this point, I'm done. I'm really, really done. AEW has to show me that they truly have real interest in their women's division, and I'll be back all in on it. But I can't support it anymore. It is trash. Louis on the Wednesday Night Wars show podcast last night. Louis Dangour, good kid, 19 years old, stays up to 4 a.m. his time to talk wrestling with me and Alex Pulowski every Wednesday night. Louis made an excellent point. I hadn't even noticed. They stuffed all of their women's stuff on AEW last night into 1 quarter hour. Within the same quarter hour, you had Britt Baker, you had Sheeta's match, you had Cameron's return, and the blind drawing thing, and then no mention of any women outside of that quarter hour. So they don't consider their division to be a priority. To me, it's clear now. And you can be any type, any level of AEW apologist that you want to be. I've given them time. We've been told this since last fall. Give them time, give them time. We've given them time. Yes, COVID sucks. Yes, the injuries suck. But they haven't had any trouble keeping their men's division alive. Why aren't they doing the same with the women's division? And as much as Anna Jay is probably a real good talent, and Abaddon is probably a real good talent, these are very young, inexperienced women that they're bringing aboard. Why aren't they getting the Nicole Savoys, the Jazzes that are still out there that can really bring what they need? Diamante's match last night breaks my heart. It wasn't good. I think Diamante was completely off her game, probably the nerves. It just was not good. They're not changing the world. AEW. Remember that stuff that they were telling us during the press conferences in the lead up? We want to do things differently. We want to change the world. Well, as far as wrestling goes, they're not changing the world. They're not doing anything different. In fact, kind of reminds me of what certain other promotions were doing 10, 12, 20 years ago in regards to their women. 20 years ago might be a little harsh. Let's say 10 years ago. Because this is not good. It's not good. And again, don't ever tell me, don't even ever bring back the argument where is that, oh, but it's only a 2-hour show. Where are they going to put the women? Stop hiring guys. There's 62 men on the roster and you still have a 2-hour show. Since the pandemic started, or at least, look, they hired Matt Hardy, Brody Lee, but that had happened just as the pandemic started, so I'll give them a pass. But since it started, FTR, Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, Matt Cardona. Why do they keep adding more and more people on their roster? I swear there's going to be AEW cuts. How can they be making any real money these days? I don't understand. So yes, there's only a 2-hour show per week, so give them a chance. No, they have to show that their women's division is a priority, because right now, it's all about the guys. It's really all about the guys. Are they getting shit dudes? No, they're getting talented dudes. They're getting high impact dudes. I'm behind that, but I also want them to get behind the women and make those types of big moves, big chess moves, like they do with the men. I want it to do with the women, because because a strong women's division in a wrestling company in 2020 is par for the course. That's what we expect as wrestling fans. And that's what the women who are employed by AEW deserve at the same time. You know what I want? This is kind of my dream at this point. I'll tell you what I want. I want a new promotion to start. I want a new promotion to begin. And I want the male division to be the secondary one. Not a women's division, but I want the tables to be flipped. I want the opposite to happen. I want to see how people would react when you have a 2-hour show and 70% of it is all female wrestling and 30% of it is male wrestling. I want to see the types of reaction that people would get out of that. Because I swear there's a lot more. I will gleefully and ironically tell any people who's like, put more men on this show. Give them time. Give them time. It's coming. Don't worry. Jesus Christ. I love AEW, and this is how I'm going to end this little tirade, this rant. I know you guys like the rants. This is how I'm going to finish it. Criticism always comes from a place of love, of true love. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. You wouldn't tell your kids to be better in school if you didn't care for them. That's criticism, constructive criticism. I love wrestling and I love AEW, and I think AEW is important. I want AEW to do well. I want AEW to succeed, and I want it to be the promotion that it always says it wants to be. Hell, MJF last night was telling us that it doesn't want to be the alternative. He doesn't want AEW to be the alternative anymore. He wants it to be the pinnacle. I want it to be the pinnacle as well. We as wrestling fans deserve more than an alternative. We deserve a truly great wrestling promotion that will have men and women competing on high stakes levels, that a company that will treat its talent well, that will give us interesting storylines, that won't insult our intelligence. We're so close with it with AEW. And it's so frustrating that they're neglecting one of the key components, the key elements that could truly set them apart. Could you imagine AEW with the quality of the tag team division, the depth of their men division, having a stellar women's division on top of that? Could you imagine? That's my dream. That's what I want. And that's why I'm angry. And that's why I'm pissed off. That's because I know AEW can do better. I want AEW to do better. Just like I expect WWE to be better on other things, I expect AEW to be better on other things here as well. This is passion, it's love, it's because I want them to succeed. Has nothing to do with hate. I don't hate AEW. I want AEW to do well. I want them to be the promotion that they want to be, that they said they were going to be. That's what I want. Got some super chats. Nick Wolf left a super chat. How you doing, Nick? Says, sorry I'm late. Forgiven. Have we talked about Ariane Andros taking over AEW women's division? We kind of did just now. Or Okada pronouncing KOPW, Kenny Omega Pro Wrestling title. I didn't touch on the Kenny Omega thing, but we did talk about the King of Pro Wrestling stuff at the start of the show. But thank you very much for the super chat. Anakin leaves us a super chat as well. Thank you very much. Says, did AEW purposefully get the other Funkadactyl after Naomi trended 2 weeks ago? In all due fairness, Ariane had been tweeting out for a while now that she was ready to make a comeback, that she wanted to make a comeback. She was probably trying to get into WWE. I know she's been training for it. She's been moving forward with it. So if they did, okay, but no one will I don't think anyone will really make that connection between Naomi and the former Cameron. I don't think. Because at first when I saw her, I was watching it with Kristen, and when I saw her turn, and when she pops in and she turns her head and says, oh, by the way, I'm back. And I'm like, wait, who's this? She says, her name is Ariane. And Kristen says, that's Cameron. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. So I don't think the connection is that clear. Nick Wolf left us another super chat. Thank you, Nick. He says, Ariane Andrews joins Jurassic Express because she's a fun Funkadactyl. They have her put on a mask and wings, and well, if you're gonna bring that back. And Anakin left another super chat saying NXT and SmackDown are 2-hour shows, and they have made the women a top attraction. You can shit a lot about on WWE that they have trouble building new women stars. But the depth is there. The women feel important. The divisions feel important. Impact do a great job as well. It's hard to fault them on that. There's nitpicky things that you can do that aren't perfect. But right now, I mean, okay, I've said my piece about AEW, and I said my piece about the weekly wrestling inspection. Woo, Nelly. I got to remind myself not to go on these intense, sweaty rants when it's like when I have no central air and stuff going around me. Darnell Thames, welcome to the chat. Remember, folks, the super chats are still there if you want to drop them. That's fantastic. You know what happened today, too? You know what else dropped today? WWE earnings call. That's always an event. Oh, boy. Not quite as dramatic as the Q1 call, which had happened just after the releases. COVID had hit. That was a bit of it was a very bubbling situation there, but we nonetheless got our earnings call here as well for the second quarter of the year. And we were all really interested to see how WWE performed here because Q2 was COVID quarter. So I want to give a big shout out to Brandon Thurston, again, from WrestleNomics, who covers this to perfection. Brandon is your guy when it comes to finances, economics of wrestling. He's the guy. Follow him on Twitter, Brandon Thurston, or at WrestleNomics. There's only one guy that I really do trust when it comes to analysis, understanding the numbers, the history behind it all. He's your dude. So go check that out. But I will point out a couple of highlights. Again, I'm sort of ganking all of this from Brandon, because and he goes much more in depth, and he's going to be with the Post Wrestling Boys tomorrow to talk about the ratings, the earnings call. So you'll want to check that out. Brandon's a smart fellow. A few things that we glean out of this to begin with. First and foremost, WWE profits for the second quarter of 2020 blew away all expectations from all analysts. They figured that they were going to do $115.5 to $12 million last quarter. They actually made in profits. All right? Not revenue. Profits. They made $43.8 million. Conservative estimates at $11.5 million. They blew those expectations away, folks. Absolutely away. There's reasons for that, of course. First of all, they're saving tons and tons of money producing at the Performance Center. They're not paying money for venues or road crews or whatever else, all that stuff. It's all the savings that they're making there are very, very present. In fact, the operating income increased by $54.7 million to $81.6 million, as opposed to Q2 2019, primarily due to a reduction in operating expenses. So the fact that they're running the PC, no surprise, they're saving a lot of dough. And the salaries that they've saved from all the layoffs is still just a drop in the bucket, folks, because that's not operating income. They also presented some ratings, very interesting stuff on the ratings. And you guys know I don't like the ratings talk, the weekly ratings talk, because I think it's one of the most boorish conversations we can have. But when WWE puts out its ratings figures, its trends, and then we can actually see the numbers and how they're doing in comparison, like real hard numbers. This gets interesting here. Raw, as opposed to SmackDown, is not doing well. If you compare the second quarter of 2020 to the second quarter of 2019, ratings are down 24%. So from the 1 year later, WWE has lost 24% of its audience for the same quarter. They lost a quarter of their audience, guys. But then when you look at the ratings from the USA Network, USA in itself, as compared to those 2 quarters as well, has lost 26% of its viewership. So USA's not in a good spot. But in the meantime, overall cable viewing from the top 25 cable networks has only dropped 1% from Q2 2019 to Q2 2020. So there's a slight loss overall in TV viewership on Mondays for all 25, for the top 25 cable channels. Just a 1% loss. USA is not doing well, period. Because they've lost a quarter of their viewership, and that's translating into a quarter of the viewership from Raw as well. Now, this doesn't mean that the fact that Raw lost 24% of its viewership, that's the chunk that's gone from USA. No, it's spread out over all of USA's shows. But the problem, Raw is a problem, but USA is also a problem, because everywhere else we're seeing a 1% difference in viewership, and here we're seeing a 25% difference. That's bad. That's real bad stuff. SmackDown on Fridays, though, that's a whole other story. From second quarter 2019 to second quarter 2020, excuse me, SmackDown has a 4% increase in ratings. So they actually gained over a year's time in the same quarter. Fox overall lost 4% viewership. So, lost 4% viewership. And the top 4 broadcasting networks from Q2 2019 compared to Q2 2020, they lost 12% viewership. So essentially, SmackDown, despite the fact that it's not dragging in huge ratings, despite the fact that it's not necessarily always a good show, that the creative is always questionable, it's still doing good business for Fox. Fox is hasn't performed well year on year, year over year. SmackDown has. And that's the story that we've been hearing in regards to SmackDown on Fridays. Is that, sure, not the biggest ratings in the world, but there's still a big ratings get for Fox on Friday nights. Vince went through a bunch of corporate stuff, saying that WWE generated strong financial performance in the second quarter. You don't say! In a challenging environment, results driven by significant cost savings, continued focus. He's happy that they're going to continue to focus on developing original content across platforms. He gave us examples. The Quest for Lost Treasures. You know that Triple H, Stephanie McMahon show that they're doing on A&E? You know, the one that Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder should have done, where they go off and look for old collectibles? Yeah. That's one of the things that they're really happy about. They created Tales from the Dead Man using extra footage from the critically acclaimed Undertaker's Last Ride show for WWE Network. They produced a game show for R-Truth. And they have multiple projects in development across scripted and unscripted genres at several streaming services. Yeah, did you know, you've heard about Quibi, right? That streaming service that you're supposed to watch on your phone, that you watch in portrait mode. Have you heard about that? Have you heard about that service? WWE had a thing there on Quibi. I don't know how well that performed. They didn't mention it. I'll tell you that much. But we were talking about a little earlier how high the profits were, because they're not running live events. They're doing everything from the PC. Vince said that they don't know when they're going to return to live events, but they did point out something very, very interesting, and that's that WWE Shop sales on WWE Shop has grown, right? They said e-commerce revenues nearly doubled to $12.6 million, substantially offsetting the loss of venue merchandise sales with 76 fewer events in the quarter. So what they're saying here is that even though they should have ran 76 live shows during this quarter, they made $12.6 million in merch sales nonetheless. And as they said, substantially offset the loss of venue merchandise. This is a little wild here, because I'm thinking about it, this is what I'm thinking here. Maybe the COVID era, and this is a maybe, and again, I'm not an analyst, I'm not an economist, I'm just thinking out loud here. Maybe this is going to be the death knell for the live shows. I'm not talking about Raw and SmackDown and NXT, but I'm talking about the house show circuit. WWE is saving money, big time fucking money, because it's cheaper for them to tape in a studio than it is to rent out big commercial buildings for 4,000 ticket sales. They don't even need the merch revenue because WWE Shop is recording record sales, and it's offsetting anything they could have done running the shows live. I mean, frankly, between all of us, we get out of confinement. COVID is tempered. We've perhaps avoided we've avoided a second wave. I don't see why WWE would go back running the house show circuit. I really don't. There's no reason to. Look at the bank they're saving. Of course, that's just the money they're saving isn't translating into bigger salaries for wrestlers. They're still negotiating with Rey Mysterio because Rey Mysterio wants a raise. And they're like, well, we don't know, Rey, COVID. Oh, fuck you, COVID. They still released a bunch of people, But I'm just throwing that out there. Anakin left us a super chat. Thank you, Anakin. By the way, Injection 2K, welcome to the chat. But back to Anakin's super chat. Maybe ratings are good for SmackDown because people aren't going out to movie theaters or bars or clubs right now. That's why I've been watching. Sure. Like I said, I don't follow the ratings all that much for a bunch of reasons. And I know a lot of my wrestling ratings core watcher friends. Jesus, was that even a sentence? I think it's just me putting a series of words together. I think it's the heat. Let me do that again. I'll tell you this much. All of my wrestling podcaster buddies who follow the ratings things, they all keep telling me NBA's coming back. Major League Baseball, this is going to drain on wrestling. It's going to drain wrestling. I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit back and watch. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But to your point though, Anakin, let me turn this the other way. You would think that ratings, because everyone is inside and watching Netflix and can't go out to clubs and bars and movie theaters, like you said, you'd think ratings would go up because more people would be at home. But no, more people are staying at home, but are choosing to not watch wrestling. Wonder why. WWE social media is down for the first time. They're counting a loss of, this is probably accounting for the loss of WWE superstars, the people that they've released that they don't count in their numbers anymore. The main WWE accounts lost over 11,000 followers just in June. Also of note, Vince doubts that there's going to be a Saudi show this year. He's not sure that's going to happen with the economic context. And of course, then Vince talks about ratings as well, because a lot of the investors were asking about the ratings. Vince, by the way, I remember Vince McMahon on these earning calls being very boisterous and blustery. Just the one that they had in Q1, he was like, I was half expecting him to. He was so much Vince McMahon, I was expecting him to break out well, goddamn, pal. I was like, it felt like I was doing a Vince McMahon impression. But today, he was uninterested. He was dejected. He didn't want to be there. It felt like he didn't want to be there. He was referring, why don't you cover this one? Why don't you take this one? But anyway, he did answer questions about the ratings. He says he feels that NXT and AEW ratings were able to bounce back from the COVID situation because he says they're new, right? It has that appeal of something new. All right. Vince also said that a lot of the rating softness that Raw and SmackDown are experiencing on TV right now is due to the fact that there's no live audience. Hear me out, folks. Quote, the audience, they're like a third person in the ring. He says that the TV audience will be rebuilt when audiences return to live shows, and that could take months. Okay. So the reason the ratings are tanking is because there's no live audience. And people will go back to seeing, once we go back seeing shows, then the TV ratings will go back up. Whew. And someone also talked about WWE buying Evolve. They just mentioned that as well. And they said, it's a media purchase, which is what we figured, what we understood, but basically they bought Evolve for the tape library. They said it was a very small transaction in size in terms of investment. That's what they said. They basically confirmed that they got Evolve for the tapes. So those were my big standouts from the ratings call, from my small brain analysis here. Like I said, Brandon Thurston's going to be all over the place over the next couple of days, talking about ratings. Hit him up on Post Wrestling tomorrow. That's going to be good. Want to say hello to Evan Wright and Acer 5000 who are in the chat as well. Now, to wrap today's show up, I have to talk about one of the things that has got me most excited in wrestling right now. Because no, I don't think everything is awful. I really don't. I think I'm buying it. I'm into it, and I think it's going to happen. Cody is bringing back the Four Horsemen, and they're going to be in AEW. The segment that they had last night when they set everything up for the FTR to sign their contracts, and they have Arn come in, and then Hangman Page comes in to celebrate with them. I was looking at this, and I was like, my God, I think the theories are right. I think this is where we're going. We are edging ever so closer to the Four Horsemen being comprised of Cody Rhodes, Hangman Adam Page, and FTR. And the reason why it just clicked for me is when Arn came in. Arn is associated with Cody, very, very close. So Arn and FTR have they have worked together in WWE as well. Like there's true history, but look, if we're talking kayfabe here, and Paige and FTR, they've been warming up to each other as well. I like it. I like how all these seeds are planted here, and tell me that as a 2020 edition of the Four Horsemen, tell me this wouldn't work. Cody is Flair. Cody is one of the best natural promo cutters. Like he can go like Flair. Maybe not the same. Flair's he's special, but still Cody's special in his own way as well. And then you get your tag team enforcers. You have your Barry Windham type character. That look. The more I think about it, the more it works. And it works even more when you take a moment to consider that Cody Rhodes, for the past couple of months now, has been using the figure 4 leg lock a lot more, right? He still has the crossroads. It's fine. But the figure 4 has appeared in his arsenal a lot more, and he's won matches with it as well. Cody likes his Southern wrestling. He really does. this would make a lot of sense. Now, I've had people tell me, that, Hangman and Cardona are red herrings. They think that Tully will probably get involved and Spears is going to be the last guy. Or what if the four end up being Cody, Kenny, and FTR because Hangman is going to be the babyface? I'm like, okay. A lot of people are saying MJF and the Four Horsemen. But I say keep it simple. There's some moments where you're like, a swerve is good. This is not what we were expecting. But sometimes you can keep it simple and create a situation out of the most basic elements where you do have, on one hand, where you have the most obvious choice, but also the best choice. Like I said, Cody, he loves his Southern style wrestling. This is a perfect fit. Hangman Page would work. FTR are made to be in a four horseman type stable. They're made for it. You don't have to think too far for this to work. You don't have to get into these convoluted situations. MJF doesn't need a stable. And I think a stable would actually harm him more than anything. I don't think he needs it. Sean Spears, not big enough. He's really not big enough. What you want to create is a game-changing group. Tell me that in 2020, one of the best tag teams in the world and two of AEW's biggest stars combined into a tag team, into a stable, bringing up a legendary moniker would not be absolutely perfect. I'd even tell you how I'd book it. I'd even all out main event Young Bucks versus FTR.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's what we're getting in the main event. FTR, the Young Bucks defeat FTR. And they've had this cool respect relationship going. They maintain it right up to there. The Young Bucks win. FTR shake their hands, but they turn on them. Boom! Like that. Boom, I tell you. Beat them down. The rest of the Elite run in for the save. Kenny Omega, Adam Page, they run in. Omega starts fighting them off, but then next thing you know, Adam Page, boom, clocks him across the head with one of their tag title belts. Or maybe they lost it earlier in the evening. It doesn't matter. But Page turns on Omega. And then finally you have Cody running in, he's a member of the Elite, but he's been very, very on the outskirts of it. But he is technically a member. And he runs in. You think he's going to save the day for the Elite, but no. He destroys the boys, and you have your Four Horsemen formed there. They lift up the four fingers, and that's how you finish All Out. That's how you finish it. I think the most simplest outcome here will be the best. I really do. I don't give me Kenny Omega, he doesn't fit in a Four Horsemen environment. You need guys who will exude that mid-Atlantic NWA feel, that Georgia style of wrestling, TBS, and Cody, Page, Cash, and Dax, they exude all of that. It'd just work perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. Got some super chats here. Let's go through them. Evan Wright, how you doing? And Jason PS3, by the way, is in the chat. How you doing? Evan Wright left us a super chat. Says FTR in a backstage segment saying Page looks like Barry Windham in the ring last night. Popped me big time. Love this Dark Order direction too. Yeah, I like a little strife in the Dark Order. I like that kind of stuff. I can dig it. I really, really can dig it. Evan Wright also left another super chat. Says Swerve, Cody thinks he's got the Horseman thing going, but Adam Cole is the flair of the group. Why does everyone think Adam Cole's going to AEW? He's not. Rhodes should never trust the Horsemen. Yeah, that's true. But Adam Cole's not going to AEW. He's in a feud with Pat McAfee. DGMC left a super chat saying, we spent the last year establishing that Hangman doesn't want to be in the Elite, so him being the Wyndham and Cody's Horseman is no bueno for me. I think it's just a question that he doesn't connect with. I think what it boils down to is a question of styles. This is what it's going to boil down to. It's a question of styles. I think Page doesn't fit in with Omega and the Bucks, who have a much more high-flying style. He's more of a wrestler type. Like I said, he exudes a lot of the Southern style, as opposed to a more contemporary style of wrestling. I think that's why he doesn't feel like he belongs in the Elite. I think that's why Cody hasn't been around the Elite all that much either. I think it's all coming together. And hey, by the way, the Horsemen, these new Horsemen, if they come back, they don't need to be heels. Yeah. They can be absolute tweeners. They could be 100% absolute tweeners. Because that's, at some point, that's what the Horsemen were. Even though they were heels, they were cheered nonetheless. And AEW is a good place to pull off some tweener stuff like that, especially with guys like Page and FTR. And Cody in interviews in the past said, that he, heels and baby faces is passe, right? You don't necessarily need to define those lines so precisely. So, hey, we'll see what happens. Evan Wright left us another super chat. Thank you, Evan. Says, more styrofoam ice chest explosions, please. Yeah, that's FDR's new gimmick. Just cracking coolers across fools. Anakin JMT says, the only reason Adam Cole goes to AEW is if he gets too embarrassed at his boneheaded moves in Uno. Yeah, he's a bit of a jerk, isn't he? Well, I don't know. He's not very good, is what I'm trying to say. And Joe Cook left a super chat as well. No comment, but thank you, Joe. And one final super chat from Kristen Ashley, who says, where do you think Shane McMahon is? Right? Where is Shane McMahon? We haven't seen him in such a long time. Is he... Do you think that Shane McMahon is headed to AEW? Or maybe my theory? Here's my theory. I think Shane McMahon is actually Triple A. I think Shane McMahon has been here all along. He's actually just he's wearing Triple H's skin. He got Triple H in a dark corner somewhere, and jealous that Triple H gets all the better birthday greetings from his dad on Twitter. Oh, yeah. Just sliced him up, and he's been wearing his skin since. It's a dark way to end the show. No, Evan Wright left us a super chat. Says, McAfee punt kicks Cole right into Jacksonville boot. Could you imagine? I mean, look, there's no way Adam Cole is going to AEW. Sorry, I don't see it. But could you imagine that that's what Adam Cole does on his way out? He does the job to Pat McAfee. That'd be weird. And Anakin left us a super chat. Says, Shane McMahon is the guitar hero of wrestling. Every time he pops up, I go, no, thank you. Ooh, yeah. I like it. Well, there you have it, folks. Let's wrap this one up for tonight. I want to thank everyone for joining here live on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. If you haven't already, do consider giving the video a thumbs up. And if you enjoyed what you saw, you felt like I earned your subscription, I'd really appreciate it. And I will thank you very, very much for doing so. That's very, very kind. Thank you, everyone listening in podcast land on audio as well. Very appreciated, whether it's here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show or on Smart to Death Radio as well. I appreciate everything. Evan Wright left one last super chat saying, Pat with the punt and Gronk with the touchdown. Boo! Why'd you have to bring that stuff up? But thank you for the entertaining super chat to lead us out here. Folks, remember, next Thursday, pre-recorded, but will premiere on YouTube with the chat and everything if you want to come hang out. Will be pre-recorded, will not be here live, but we will still have a show. I'll be back live in 2 Thursdays from now. Hope you'll all be here because I really do appreciate your support. Thank you, everyone, once again. See you next time.